Hello, hi everyone, and welcome to our CU Events Week on Hope and today's session. Welcome back if you were here yesterday, and welcome if you're just joining today. We are so happy to see you. My name is Esther. I am a second year student at the University of Bath studying management marketing. I'm a member of the CU and I'll be one of your hosts tonight. Josh, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course I can. My name is Josh. I'm a second year studying the Mighty Sport Management and Coaching. It's so great to be back. Now, Esther, I want to address something first. If you joined us yesterday evening, one, so great that you joined us, and it's great that you're back. But secondly, I started off on a bit of the wrong foot, as in I went for a controversial opinion, and I realised that everybody else disagreed with me. The pineapple on pizza incident. We're not speaking about it again.
I thought that might be what you're referring to. We're not speaking of that again.
But, however, I'm going to go there again. Not there, but I'm going controversial again. I saw your Instagram story, or it might have been somebody in your house's Instagram story earlier today.
Go on.
With a certain tree in their hands for your house.
Oh my word, how dare. As you will have noticed, I was not in that image. I do not agree with trees in November. However, this whole going home 3rd to the 9th situation of December, we've got to have a tree at some point in the house. If not now, then when?
Oh, I know. Okay, the tree thing I can kind of abide, but celebrating Christmas already, I love Christmas, and I get called. I'm being absolutely roasted for it in my house at the minute for being like, no, you can't celebrate Christmas yet. But it's like, it's too early. I love Christmas, and I'm not a Grinch for saying that. And honestly,
in a normal year, November is very premature, but I think this year we can have a Christmas sing along in November. I'm under that impression.
Oh no! Right, we're going to need a third party on this. When we bring praise in, we're going to need a third party on this opinion.
We can ask.
And if comment it down in the comments on Facebook or YouTube if you agree or disagree with us. Christmas in November, Christmas celebrating now, yes or no? Comment it down below.
Specifically in the context of 2020, not in general, because I think most people are agreed in general. Although I did see a Christmas tree in August. I'm not the worst.
August, did you say?
Yeah, I know.
Ridiculous. That's dreadful.
I'm sure many people at home who are watching have got their trees up. I've seen many. Shall I say a bit about who we are as a CU?
I think that's a good idea, Esther.
Yeah. If you're not sure who we are, our mission statement is that as a CU, we exist to give every person at the University of Bath the opportunity to hear the good news of Jesus Christ. And hopefully we'll be living that out tonight. We can't wait for you to hear everything we've got. First, Josh.
Yeah, firstly, we're going to hear from a member of our CU a little bit about their story about how they came to know Jesus. So if we'd like to welcome Praise into the room.
Yes, welcome Praise.
Hey guys.
There he is.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay, Praise, can you please tell us a bit about yourself? Who are you? What's your name? What course you on?
Yeah, sure. So as you've already introduced myself, my name is Praise, and I am a 4th year accounting and finance student.
Wow.
Yeah. Wonderful stuff. Now, Praise, the big one. I mean, what you say after this is going to be far more important than this, but the Christmas in November, issue, where do you stand on it?
I'm a bit of a traditionalist. I prefer it in December, as it should be. However, because of the current situation, as Esther said, I think you can sort of just bring out the mince pies, the Christmas music. So I think it's all right.
Thank you. And all the Christmas drinks at all the takeaway coffee shops. Lovely. Get on board.
Yeah. Get the trees up as well. So
my controversial opinions have not gone well this week at all. No. I need to redeem myself tomorrow, otherwise I'm not looking good.
Come up with a new one. On a more relevant note, Praise, Could you tell us a bit about what's your story with faith? How and go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So, really, my story sort of like is in the context of being born in a Christian family. So, I was born in a Christian family, and that was in a country called Malawi in southern Africa. And really, being born in that environment, being a Christian or the idea of Christianity seemed more like a tradition or culture or something we did as a family. So my idea of God was, more or less of someone who was distant, unpersonable, and authoritarian. And really, as a result, it really didn't have an impact on my life in the sense that actually, although I was taught a lot about who God was and about Jesus Christ and what he did, it wasn't personal to me. So I just thought it was irrelevant. And as a result, I sort of lived sort of without God in that sense. And like like things in my life which were sort of evidence of that was I was really bitter. So I always thought that I deserved something. I deserved more. I deserved what others had. And also my identity was based on my achievements. So, you know, I've I've always been academically focused and I've always loved sport and I always thought that defined me. That was something which was a big part of me and of who I was. And also another thing which was really big and part of me was that actually my identity was based on what people thought of me. So I always thought like I had to live for other people. So try to impress my friends or act differently in front of different people. So that was really what my life was underlined by. And all this was sort of like happening, but I was still going to church. I was still participating in things with my family, but in reality, I was just going through the motions and just trying to appease them. However, there came a time when I was in year nine, when I attended a Easter musical. I really didn't want to attend it, but I happened to be at it at that time. And really, it was the first time when I actually came to sort of understand personally what the gospel was, and that actually there is a God who is the creator of all things and to whom I'm accountable to. And that actually, as humans and personally as myself, that I've fallen short, and that actually all the bad things which I've done, which are numerous, are I'm accountable to that. And actually, because God is just, and that I actually deserve punishment. And that seemed really personal at the time because I guess I was in a place where I was just broken and sort of felt very or unloved in a sense. However, the big sort of like message of that musical and or the talk after the musical was about Jesus Christ and that God Himself came down in the person of Jesus to come and take my punishment, my guilt, my sin, and my shame. So that was sort of my first initial understanding of that, and I was really amazed by it. Upon reflection, I would actually say that, or usually I would say that's the point at which I came to faith, but upon reflection, it was more of a process after that because after I had understood what it was, it didn't seem to have an impact on my life in the sense that actually I was still battling and struggling with sort of like the world. So, living for myself, living for others, and actually God is is what God says. Is it really worth it? Is when Jesus says that he is the way, the truth, and the life. Like, do I actually believe that? Do I actually think that he is the only way, the truth, and the life? And actually, in Jesus, him saying that he's come to give life in all its fullness. Did I actually believe in that? So I was struggling with that, and also trying to do the same old things I was doing even before that. So, but that was a process, and thank God because He was working in my life at that point, and through continually going to church and actually reading the Bible for myself, I came to understand more personally that actually God loves me so much and that He desires me to come to know Him, and that actually that is what life is. Yeah, so eventually, at some point, I can't have a there isn't a specific sort of moment in which it happened, but at some point, I sort of decided that what, like I'm going to turn away from living for myself and disregarding uh, who God is and all of that. I'm just going to turn fully to Him and sort of like give my life to Him and trust Him as my Lord and Savior. So yeah, that's how I came to faith.
That is a really, really cool story, Praise. Honestly, thank you so much for sharing that. Now, one more question for you, Praise. This year it's not been easy for any of us. I'm sure you can agree on that. Would you like to share a little bit about how your faith has impacted on you this year and how it's helped you through times of coronavirus and everything that's happened this year?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, like it's been challenging for everyone, as you've said. And there've been many challenges I've faced myself. However, one particular challenge, which you know most resonates with me right now, is sort of like the anxiety of the job hunt. So, as I mentioned before, I'm a final year accounting and finance student. So at this time, I'm actually looking for jobs. And as everyone's aware, because of the situation, uh, jobs are hard to come by. And actually, sort of jobs which I would have liked to have, it seems unlikely that I will have them. And I guess that's really, in a sense, it's really scary and sort of quite stressful. However, my faith in Jesus, the way it's been helping me and continually helps me, is that I'm reminded constantly that actually God is in control. In the Bible, it talks about God being sovereign. That means He's in control of every single thing. And I'm reminded that actually, because God loves me so much, that actually He will bring things for my good. And I don't know what that looks like because I can't see in the future, but God does. And actually, it's sort of that constant sort of reminder that He is in control, and I can trust Him. And the other thing in which I'm sort of really encouraged by daily as well is the aspect of His presence. So before Jesus ascended to heaven, he said that he would be with, he said that he would be with the disciples and definitely be with everyone who follows him. So I'm really sort of encouraged to know that actually, even in my stress and anxiety, that actually God is with me, and that I can be reassured of His sort of like peace and the joy that comes from that. So yeah, that's just been the how faith in Jesus has been helping me, and yeah, it's been difficult, but yeah, God is good. So yeah.
Lovely. Thank you so much for sharing. That was so encouraging. Me moving on to our talk from Niv, and what I've noticed, Josh, is Niv isn't live, so we can't ask him the Christmas question. However, Lucy has popped a comment on saying every day can be Christmas given the year we've had. So I think that's all the support that I need.
Oh, I love Christmas, but and I love you guys, but you're all wrong. Christmas. No.
No. Okay, anyway, as I said, after hearing that amazing testimony from Praise, we are going to be moving on to a talk from Niv, who is our speaker for this week. He was one of our panelists. If not, you're in for a treat. He's going to do an amazing talk, and his theme tonight is there any hope? So that is the question that he's going to be discussing.
Good evening. It's great to be speaking with you this evening. I'd much rather be there in person, but this is the best we can do at the moment. I'm Niv, I'm based in Oxford, and I'm thinking through this week with you about the question of hope, what it is, where it comes from, whether we can have it. And tonight we're asking, is there any hope for truth? As I record this, we're going into a post-Trump world, but is the post-truth society that he represents always going to be with us? In 2017, Time magazine put out this cover asking, "Is truth dead?" If politicians who show total disregard for the truth can hold power for years, what does that say about our world? Does the truth have any value for us? This evening, we don't have time for a comprehensive answer, but we do have to begin somewhere. And one place to begin is with an influential thinker for whom this problem really stood out. Friedrich Nietzsche, here he is, great moustache, was a 19th century German philosopher, and he wrote this in one of his notebooks. "Against that positivism which stops before phenomena, saying there are only facts, I should say, no, it is precisely facts that do not exist, only interpretations." He's saying all our knowledge comes from a particular perspective. Yes, we do perceive the world around us, but we always need to interpret our perceptions to make sense of them. And as a result, there are no views from nowhere. There is no knowledge that isn't situated somewhere. But some have taken it even further. If only interpretations exist, then one response is to become totally suspicious of every truth claim, to suspect that anyone who presents their perspective, their idea, their thinking as the truth might well be taking advantage of you. It could be a power play. Michel Foucault once put it like this: "Truth is a thing of this world. It is produced only by virtue of multiple forms of constraint, and it induces regular effects of power." Foucault's observation came in the 20th century, a century unrivaled in war, exploitation, and genocide. But it wasn't mindless savagery that produced these horrors. Educated thinkers stood behind them, all claiming the truth. So if you go with Foucault, then claiming the truth is a power play and nothing more. So is there any hope for truth? Donald Trump may have put this question on our radars, but post-truth and power play is actually an ancient phenomenon. 2,000 years ago, a condemned man was brought before a Roman magistrate, and the imperial official named Pontius Pilate was fascinated by the man in front of him. And this Jewish man, a traveling teacher, said this: "The reason I was born and came into the world is to testify to the truth. Everyone on the side of truth listens to me." "What is truth?" retorted Pilate. That comes from John's Gospel, which is a first century account of Jesus' life. And it's a really striking scene. On the one hand, you have a Roman authority with every institution and privilege on his side. On the other, you have Jesus of Nazareth, a homeless carpenter, traveling teacher, arrested on trumped up charges by a jealous religious establishment, and yet testifying to the truth. And what does Pilate do with this person in front of him? "What is truth?" he asks. And that's not a question, it's a shrug. He's not honestly asking for an answer, he's dismissing one before it can arrive. And in a week of events like this, his example is one to avoid. Jesus invites us to bring him our hard questions, doubts, and issues. And my hope is that we can do that together this week with intellectual honesty rather than just pursuing our own agenda, no matter what that means for the truth. And for that to happen, I want us to think about two things. There'll be a way of answering our question, is there any hope for truth? First, we need to think about ourselves asking that question. Second, we need to think about the kind of truth that makes a difference in our world. First, let's think about ourselves asking the question. The fact we can ask, what is truth, says something about us. Václav Havel was a Czech playwright and dissident, and he saw his people under Soviet tyranny give way. He saw some people who were prepared to hand over power to those in charge and actually to sacrifice truth to power and go along with the lie. But he also saw something else as well. And in his essay, The Power of the Powerless, he wrote this: individuals can be alienated from themselves only because there is something in them to alienate. There's something in us to alienate. What is it? Until we account for who we are, the truth claims we put forward can only be power plays. And as with Pilate, even asking the question itself could be a power play. So who are we? I showed you that Time magazine cover. 50 years ago, they published another one, very similar. So in 2017 or so, Is Truth Dead? 50 years ago, Is God Dead? And they were right to design the covers the same way because the questions are related. These covers show how we've embraced a diminished view of what human beings are. Who are we? For centuries, the consensus answer to that was creatures made in God's image, rational beings possessed of innate dignity. Our capacity to know the truth wasn't in doubt. That knowledge was never exhaustive, but nonetheless real. We've since settled for a slightly different conception of human beings. One of our greatest minds, Stephen Hawking, once put it like this: the human race is just a chemical scum on a moderate-sized planet, orbiting around a very average star in the outer suburb of one among 100 billion galaxies. We are so insignificant that I can't believe that the whole universe exists for our benefit. Just a chemical scum. That's quite a downgrade from being made in God's image to just a chemical scum. That's a real reduction. And that reductionist view really changes things. For one thing, it jeopardizes our grip on the truth as knowers. Charles Darwin, the great Charles Darwin, once expressed this in a letter he wrote. But then, with me, the horrid doubt always arises whether the convictions of man's mind, which has been developed from the mind of the lower animals, are of any value or at all trustworthy. Now, the theory of evolution certainly helps us understand how our rational faculties developed, but taken on its own, it can't validate those processes. See, if the process of evolution was an unguided one, why should we trust what our minds tell us at all? If all we've survived to do, if all our evolution has been to replicate our genes and pass them on, and apart from a personal creator, there is no wider meaning that we can posit to that process, why trust our reasoning faculties to guide our understanding? This reductionist view of us also jeopardizes our grip on questions of right and wrong. Take the famous insistence, the US Declaration of Independence, which you will know if you're a Hamilton fan. Thomas Jefferson penned these words: "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." That statement enshrines a vision of equality, dignity, and freedom that all of us want to hold to, I think. But how can any of that apply to chemical scum? Now, I'm not saying that if you don't believe in God, you can't be moral. I think all of us want to be moral. The question is, why should you be moral? What can validate your understanding of morality? Yuval Noah Harari, who is super widely read, he's always in a Waterstone's front window, once assessed that statement from a secular point of view, and he observed this: according to the science of biology, people were not created, they have evolved. And they certainly did not evolve to be equal. The idea of equality is inextricably intertwined with the idea of creation. The Americans got the idea of equality from Christianity, which argues that every person has a divinely created soul and that all souls are equal before God. However, if we do not believe the Christian myth about God, creation, and souls, what does it mean that all people are equal? Evolution is based on difference, not on equality. Sorry, by the way, if the words aren't easy to see. I'm trying a new thing at the moment to show these quotes. But I think he's right in what he's saying. And if that's true, where does that leave human dignity? William S. Burroughs, the author, once wrote, "Evolution did not come to a reverent halt with Homo sapiens. So why do we act as if it did?" Taking God out of the picture looks like a tempting move. You consider the oppression and injustice that institutional religion has caused, and you can understand why people wanted to do it. But it hollows us out. If we embrace this picture of what human beings are, then we're left in a desolate place with a perspective that is unlivable, that can't make sense of us or the things we care about most. In a very poignant memoir, When Breath Becomes Air, the writer and surgeon Paul Kalanithi put it like this: "To make science the arbiter of metaphysics is to banish not only God from the world, but also love, hate, meaning, to consider a world that is self-evidently not the world we live in." You see, if truth is something we construct for ourselves, and meaning goes no further than we do, then we're saying that the things we care about most aren't found in reality. Love, hope, identity, beauty, justice. These are a thin veneer, a facade, a crust, but you press into them and they're not substantial. The reality they mask is colder, bleaker. To give you an example, when interviewed on the topic of love, Professor Richard Dawkins admitted that it was very important for gene survival, but not more than that. And he said that really it was something grafted on, a superfluous excrescence on life. See what he's saying? Gene survival is reality, and the love that so many people live for, just an illusion to help them cope. Does that point of view make sense of us? No, it doesn't square with how we live or how we view one another. And it's incoherent, because if the logical and moral reasoning people use to define themselves is true, then that reductionist definition itself is fatally undermined. If you really were just a chemical scum, you wouldn't know it, and you couldn't say it. You see, in order to ask the question, what is truth, in any meaningful way, we are already assuming that the question means something, already assuming that we have some kind of relationship to and responsibility to that truth, whatever it is. And responsibility is a key word here. Speaking on Desert Island Discs, sort of a guilty pleasure of mine on Radio 4, the veteran journalist Christiane Amanpour talks about her interview with Slobodan Milosevic, the butcher of the Balkans. And she said, I asked him how he could, let me try and turning that a bit better. I asked him how he could sleep at night. And it's very difficult when you have the facts and you've been on the ground and you've seen the carnage and you've seen the destruction. When you then go to the leader and you bring them the facts and they just deny it. They just sit there and deny it. So your challenge is to constantly bring them back to the facts. You see, without the facts, Christiane Amanpour would have to let Milosevic off the hook. What is truth? Well, there have to be limits to the answer we can give, but seeing how tyranny flourishes when truth is devalued, we can't not answer. The fact that we can ask the question says something about us. So does the fact that we recognize its ethical implications. We are more than a secular definition of us can adequately describe. Is there any hope for truth? Only if we rediscover an understanding of human dignity and capacity that goes beyond our biology, one that anchors our dignity and capacity in the God who made us. And that takes us to our second way in to answering our question. What kind of truth can make a difference to our world? Let me take you back to that first century scene. Pilate, with all the power of Rome, Jesus, a nobody brought before him. But the scene is actually full of irony. Just a few hours before, this eyewitness account tells us what Jesus said to his followers. He says, again, I put it down there at the bottom, in chapter 14, I am the way and the truth and the life. See, Jesus' answer to the question, what is truth, is unlike any other answer on offer. It's not just something to understand, or something to do, or even something to feel. It is all of those things and more, because deeper than any of them, the truth is someone to know personally. We ask the question, what is truth? And Jesus answers, I am. And claiming that is what got Jesus arrested, because he isn't positioning himself as another prophet or religious teacher, but as God in human flesh, the truth in person, the one all of reality is centered on. If truth claims are power plays, this is the mother of them all. But this is like no other power play you've ever seen. Look where it takes Jesus. He stands for this truth claim, even when it takes him to his death, which is where Pilate will send him. A death, Jesus claimed, was not just done to him by us, but also by him for us. What kind of power play is that? It shows the kind of power that does not manipulate, that will not fudge the boundary between right and wrong, but knows how to reach out to those who have done wrong. A power play that rejects power as we understand it, and yet has resonated like no other act ever has in history. So that 2,000 years later, 2 billion people and counting seriously call this crucified carpenter's son God. And if that's true, then with Jesus, truth is always more than just the facts. What is truth? a person who's able to affirm us in our capacity to know and to respond to him and the world he made. So in Jesus, we meet someone who can anchor our convictions about life and about one another, so that love, beauty, justice, truth, friendship, these aren't ephemeral, these aren't illusions. It's not that reality is hard and meaningless, and all those things are like a veneer, a crust over it. Jesus shows us that these things are at the heart of reality. So we're right to live as if they matter. So of course, knowledge and truth are to be protected. Of course, it's not stupid to study the sciences and be amazed at the order and intricacy of our world. Of course, suffering is supposed to be opposed and injustice faced head on. And of course, we will long for more than life, even at its best, seems able to give. And when we press into reality, we won't find those things fading out of touch. We'll find ourselves going deeper into them. Jesus is the one in whom all the things we cherish hold together. So the kind of meaning that makes sense of you and of life really is out there. But there's more. Jesus shows us that it doesn't just stay out there. No, God has come to us as one of us. To go back to Stephen Hawking, of course the whole universe doesn't exist for your benefit. But Jesus' claim is that the one for whom it does exist loves you. So however insignificant you seem or feel, you are not insignificant to him. So you're not insignificant at all. And this God has even more to offer you than just knowledge of his existence. He values you and longs for you to know him as he knows you. Jesus makes a truth claim that no amount of injustice, power, or tyranny has been able to suppress. There's never been anything like it or anyone like him. And this week, we want to invite you to investigate that, to see for yourself. And we'll be looking in detail at the historical evidence for what Jesus claims this week. We'll be looking, just reaching over, at this first century account of Jesus' life. Uncover, here is the edition, but this is John's Gospel, which comes to us from eyewitness sources. Here are some words from G.K. Chesterton. Here's a picture of him. He once said, "Merely having an open mind is nothing. The object of opening the mind, as of opening the mouth, is to shut it again on something solid." Here's what so many have found in Jesus. Come to him and you find someone solid. Someone whose truth claim does make sense of your capacity as a knower. Someone for whom truth and justice are connected at the deepest level. Someone who's worth knowing about and who wants to know you. We'd love you to see that for yourself. And one way to do that is to dig into the evidence. I've been quoting from John's Gospel, and you can easily find that online. And as you do go about this search for truth, I want to finish this evening with a prayer. It's the kind of prayer that anyone could pray to find out more. Because what we're investigating isn't just information or evidence, but ultimately a person inviting us to know him as we look at that evidence. So this is a prayer for anyone and everyone committed to searching for the truth. It's a prayer just asking God if he's there to show it. It's a very exciting thing to do, to pray this prayer, because if God isn't there, then you have nothing to lose. And if he is, this could be the start of something wonderful. So don't feel like you have to join in with this, but I'm going to pray these words now, and do feel free to echo them with me. God, if you are there, if you care about me, and if you've shown yourself in Jesus, help me as I think, investigate, and look at the evidence. Give me a truly open mind and a heart committed to the truth, so that I can discover the love you promise in Jesus for myself. Amen. Thank you so much for listening.
Awesome. That Niv, if you ever see this, thank you so much for that. I'm sure he'll see it.
We're the top fans.
Honestly, that was, for me, that was super encouraging, really kind of interesting. Yeah. And I hope you guys really enjoyed it too. I'd
Love
say
the
that's
Hamilton
just
reference as well.
Hamilton. Oh yeah. Another controversial. I'm checking myself out in the controversial stuff tonight. I've never seen Hamilton.
Josh, go see it, please.
Big
As
fan
in,
of
go
musicals.
on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
might
need
have to steal
to.
my housemate's Disney Plus and watch it at some point.
Definitely. Back to what's on this week.
Yeah, let's go back to what's on this week, because you can sit and watch Hamilton anytime, but you can't come to our events every week. They're only this week.
Very true.
So tomorrow evening will be very similar to this evening, in the sense that we'll have somebody else from the CU coming and sharing their story of faith. And our topic tomorrow evening is there any hope for suffering people? So I know that's a big question that many of my mates that aren't Christian ask, is about suffering. So please do come along and explore that. And then Thursday is our big CU quiz. It's gonna be a super fun evening. The prize is mega, pizza related prize.
Pizza related prize.
I know. No pineapple allowed on the pizza winning prizes, but we'll gloss over that.
You can have whatever pizza toppings you want on the pizza related prize, guys.
But if you have pineapple, I will be very disappointed. But yeah. So, and then we have a talk on that evening as well, and the topic on that one is, can you remember what it is, Esther? My mind has gone blank.
I think it is there any hope in a real God?
Yes, that's correct. Is there hope in a real God? Perfect.
Have it. And yes, all the links where you can find the lives will be in the description of this video. And also, if you were tonight, if it's your first time thinking about this type of thing, or you're looking to get back into it, then there will be some slides rolling at the end telling you how to get involved. One thing that we will flag up particularly is we are running an alpha course, which is where you have around 8 sit and ask these bigger questions and discuss them with people. And the sign up link for on our Facebook page, Bath Uni Christian Union. So go and check all those things out if you have enjoyed what you've heard tonight, and if you're really interested to get involved. But I think that's all the housekeeping from Josh.
Yeah, I think that's everything, guys. It's been so great for you to join us, and we really hope to see you again tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow, looking at the topic of suffering, and we're really looking forward to it already. So thank you so much for joining us, guys. Have a great evening.
Yes, thank you.